Hey guys, I hope everyone had a really good week last week and everyone had a restful weekend. It was a rainy weekend and kind of chilly, so we didn't get out and do very much this weekend. We fished a little bit, got some groceries and stuff, and that's about it. But I hope everyone else had a wonderful weekend. So the book that we're doing this week, you might think, Mrs. Belcher, it's sunny outside, it's spring, summer's on the way. Why are we doing a book about winter? I'm going to tell you why we're doing a book about winter. And that is not because of what it's about, but because of the work that we can practice in the book, okay? Using our brain and our ears and our eyes, okay? So, what you need to know about this book first, before we start, talking more about it, is there's lots of characters. I've got all the characters over here on my board, and we're going to look at those in just a second before I read it. There's lots of characters, but what happens in the story is an old man and his dog are walking through the woods on a wintry day, and he drops his mitten or his glove, well, in a mitten in this case. He drops his glove on the ground and doesn't notice it, right? And continues to walk on. He does come back at the end and find it though. But after the old man is gone, animals start curling up inside the mitten to get warm, okay? And you think, okay, that's enough animals, and then another animal that's even bigger than the last one comes and gets in the mitten, and then another animal, and you're like, there, no way, no more animals. And it keeps going until finally they hear the old man and the dog coming back, and they all scurry out of the mitten, and he finds it and he takes it home with him. So if we're looking through the book, this book starts like a fairy tale, right? With these words right here, once upon a time. Once upon a time. Have you ever heard a story that starts like once upon a time? Well, this one does. It starts once upon a time. And there he is, and he's just dropped his mitten. And here is the first animal that comes along. It's a little mouse. Here he is. And then a frog. So now there's a mouse and a frog in the mitten. And then a rabbit. And now there's a mouse and a frog and a rabbit. And then, guess what? A fox. So now there's a mouse, a frog, a rabbit, and a fox. But it doesn't stop there. You're probably thinking, Mrs. Belcher, no more animals can get in that mitten. But guess what? They can. And here comes a wolf. See? A wolf. So now there's a mouse, a frog, a rabbit, a fox, and a wolf, all in this old man's mitten. And you might be thinking, surely no more animals can fit in this mitten. But guess what? Here comes a bear. So now there is a mouse, a frog, a rabbit, a fox, a wolf, and a bear, all crammed in this mitten. There they are. And they got in because it was warm. They're cold, and so they got in because it was warm. But about that time, they hear the dog barking, the old man's dog barking. So they all get out of the mitten and run away. And they leave the mitten there, and you can see all their little footprints, all their little different footprints as they went away. And there they come, and they get the mitten, and they go home. Okay? So before I read it, I want to look at the characters, because we're used to books that use the word said a lot, like said the mouse, said the frog, said the rabbit. But this book doesn't use the talking word said. It uses different words to tell us how the animals sounded, how our characters sounded. So here are the characters. There's a mouse, a frog, a rabbit, a fox, a wolf, and a bear. Now, before we even look at the book, before I read the book at all, I want to think about how each of these animals, if they could talk, what kind of sound they might make. So let's start with the mouse. What kind of sound would a mouse make if it was going to talk? Squeak, 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 squeak. Isn't that what we learned? That mice say? Squeak, squeak, squeak. So guess what the mouse's talking word is? It's squeak. That's what the mouse says. So when we meet the mouse at the beginning of the story, it doesn't say the mouse said, it says the mouse squeaked, right? So squeak. How do you think a frog talks? If a frog was going to talk, what word would we use? Maybe ribbit, ribbit, or croak, croak. Well, let's see which one the author chooses. There it is. Is it ribbit or is it croak? Let's check. Here's the first part. Crrr. So which one is it? Is it ribbit or croak? Crrr. Oh, croak. Exactly. So the mouse says squeak. The mouse squeaks. The frog croaked. Now the rabbit. Rabbits don't really make much noise. And so the author had to pick a word that made them think of a sound a rabbit, a soft little rabbit might make. And this is the sound the author picked. Look right here. Here's the first part. Sn, oh, snuffle. So the word, the talking word for the rabbit is snuffle. So the mouse squeaked, the frog croaked, the rabbit snuffled. Now the fox. Now there's a whole song called What Does the Fox Say? Well, in this story, this is the sound the fox makes. Can you read that word? Y-A-P. This is when we can just sound out. Yap, yap. So the fox yaps. That's the sound the fox is going to make. Now, let's look at the wolf and the bear. And I'm going to scoot the wolf up just a little bit so we can see better. And I'll scoot the bear up too. All right, whoops. Don't want to put him over the fox. So now, I have two words left, two talking words left. One of them goes with the bear and one of them goes with the wolf. And here they are. There's roar and there's growl. Now, both of these animals can growl, right? But when I think of the word roar, I don't imagine a wolf roaring, do you? But I can see that a bear could definitely roar. And that's the word the author uses for the bear, roar. Therefore, the wolf grr, grr, owl, growled. Yeah, so if we just jumped right in and started reading this, these talking words might be tricky for us. But if we think about what would make sense, if we use our brains, remember how our brains can help us? If we use our brains first and think about what could make sense, how's that mouse going to talk? How's that frog going to talk? And we think of words like squeak and croak. And we even thought of ribbit. But if we're reading along and we don't know if it's croak or ribbit and we get to the word, we can get the first part started. Crrr. And guess what? It's going to be croak, isn't it? So these are animals and these are their talking words. These are the sounds that they make. Now, also, each of the animals have funny names,
okay? Today, for this video, I'm just going to tell you their funny names, okay? And then for word work in video number 2, we're going to actually look at how to make their names. So the mouse is called Munch Crunch Mouse. Munch Crunch Mouse. And if you think of a little mouse going around just munch, 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 just finding little things to munch and crunch. Okay? The frog's name is Hop Stop Frog. Right? What do frogs do? They hop. Hop Stop Frog. I told you they were silly names. Now, let me tell you about the rabbit. The rabbit is called Fleet Rabbit. The word fleet means fast. Are rabbits fast on their feet when they run? Yes, they are. So this is Fleet Feet Rabbit, and Fleet Feet Rabbit can run really fast. Now, I don't know how much you know about foxes, but I've read a whole lot of stories where foxes are very, very tricksy, and you can't trust them. They're very sneaky, and they're always smiling about something. They always seem happy and smiley. And so this guy is Smiley Wily Fox. He might be up to something you don't know. He's smiley and wily. And then the wolf is called Howly Prowly Wolf, or Howly Prowly Wolf. And I don't know how much you know about wolves, but wolves, oh, howl, right? And they're also on the prowl looking for food, right? Sneaking around. And then the bear's funny name is Grumbly Rumbly Bear, right? He's all grumbly. And he's all big and rumbly. Grumbly Rumbly Bear. So in video number 2, we'll look at their names and take their names apart using magnets. But right now, I'm going to quickly read The Old Man's Mitten. Once upon a time, an old man went for a walk in the woods with his dog. He dropped one of his mittens in the snow as he went on his way. Listen for the names and listen for the talking words. Along came Munch Crunch Mouse. She looked inside the mitten. She hopped inside the mitten. It was warm and soft. This is where I live, she squeaked. So Munch Crunch Mouse curled up inside. Then came Hop Stop Frog. He looked inside the mitten. He hopped inside the mitten. It was warm and soft. This is where I'll live, he croaked. So Hop Stop Frog and Munch Crunch Mouse curled up inside. Next came Fleet Feet Rabbit. She looked inside the mitten. She hopped inside the mitten. It was warm and soft. This is where I'll live, she snuffled. So Fleet Feet Rabbit, Hop Stop Frog, and Munch Crunch Mouse curled up inside. They were just right. Soon came Smiley Wily Fox. He looked inside the mitten. He hopped inside the mitten. It was warm and soft. This is where I'll live, he yapped. So Smiley Wily Fox, Fleet Feet Rabbit, Hop Stop Frog, and Munch Crunch Mouse curled up inside. They were getting rather crowded. Later came Howly Prowly Wolf. She looked inside the mitten. She hopped inside the mitten. It was warm and soft. This is where I'll live, she growled. So Howly Prowly Wolf, Smiley Wily Fox, Fleet Feet Rabbit, Hop Stop Frog, and Munch Crunch Mouse curled up inside. They were getting very crowded. Look at them. Oh, they are getting very crowded. At last came Grumbly Rumbly Bear. He looked inside the mitten. He hopped inside the mitten. It was warm and soft. This is where I'll live, he roared. There's roared. There's our talking word.
Did you hear all the animals and their talking words? So grumbly rumbly bear, howly prowly wolf, smiley wily fox, fleet feet rabbit, hop stop frog, and munch crunch mouse curled up inside. They were extremely crowded. Just then they heard the old man's dog. Woof, woof. Now, here's one we didn't talk about. How would a dog talk? What word could the author use to describe how the dog talked? The author chose squeaked for the mouse and croaked for the frog. What word could you pick for a dog? How about barked? Let's see. Just then they heard the old man's dog. Woof, woof. It barked. There it is. See, we can use our brains to think about the story and what would make sense and what the author might do, or the words the author might use to help us figure out tricky parts. Out of the mitten tumbled grumbly rumbly bear, howly prowly wolf, smiley wily fox, fleet feet rabbit, hop stop frog, and munch crunch mouse. Let's go, roared grumbly rumbly bear. I'm off, growled howly prowly wolf. Next is the fox. Do you remember the sound the fox made? It was yap, remember? Goodbye, yapped smiley wily fox. Do you remember the word the author chose for the rabbit? It was a tricky one, because rabbits are quiet little animals. It was snuffled, remember? See you later, snuffled fleet feet rabbit. I'm going too, croaked hop stop frog. Oh dear, squeaked munch crunch mouse. It was so warm and soft. So they're all going on their way. They all ran off into the woods. Do you see their little footprints? They all made different little footprints. Along came the old man and his dog. Here they are. The man picked up his mitten and went on his way, and that was the end of that. So there's our story for this week, The Old Man's Mitten. And when in video number 2, which is where we work on words, we're going to take a look at the characters' names like Munch Crunch and Hop Stop. All right, we'll see you in video 2.